fuck out of bed, bitch. Go. Get up, and then they got going on. Time to wake up, bitch. Get up. Get up. Get up.
Oh my god, I love that fucking song. It's called Your New Morning Alarm by Mark Riboulet. Riboulet? I don't fucking know. It's spelled Rebillet. That's Mark Riboulet's last name. He is the viral sensation. I'm sure any of you who listen to music on YouTube or whatnot knows who this guy is, but the guy's fucking money. I've seen him perform on a couple other podcasts. I've seen him perform with Reggie Watts. The guy is awesome, and I swear to God, YouTube, if you pull my podcast down because I played a little bit of that song, I'm going to be pissed. But let's move on to start the motherfucking podcast here. Let's start this bad boy off by updating y'all on the single life that is my life. Now, I mentioned last podcast that I went on a few dates with this lady friend, and it was going somewhat pretty good, somewhat decent, I would say, for a couple weeks there. We hit a little bump in the road a couple days ago, and I'm still kind of processing some things. I think she has a different way of handling some of her insecurities than I would, and that's to be expected. Not everybody's the same, but the way that she handled, and again, I'm not going to get into specifics here, but it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, set up a lot of red flags, and we both decided to kind of call it off. But now, a couple days have passed, and we're still chit-chatting about things. I still need some time to think it over. I don't need like a lot of time, maybe a couple days or so, but no, things were going really good until we hit this little bump in the road where she told me probably a day or two after our last hangout session that she wasn't happy with some of the decisions she had made. Nothing I did, but her own decisions. And we were talking it through, and then she, mentioned some very dramatic phrasing to me about how she felt, and I thought, holy shit, she needs to, focus on herself, really. I feel like anything I would do would get in the way, and that's where I thought we left things. But a couple days later, she came back through text messaging and was apologizing for how she handled things, and we both were trying to be empathetic and compassionate towards one another's feelings, but there was I just wasn't comfortable with how she handled her in-house things. But again, I don't want to be I don't want to be closed off or blinded, in a sense, from how she perceived things that I had done in relation to what she told me for the reasons why she didn't want to hang out. So I think there's still are some things that I need to figure out and see if I want to continue with this lady friend of mine, or if we really are we're done. We had our time, we had some fun, but we're just a little too different in certain areas. I tell you what, though, we both of us, our last hangout session, we tried watching that Coming to America sequel. Ugh. Just brutal. The first, I would say 20, 25 minutes. You know what? The first half hour, I would say, was pretty good. Pretty reminiscent of the original. I wasn't a huge fan of some of the casting. I wasn't a huge fan of how they tried to quote-unquote update the movie. With lingo and the new characters and geopolitical shit about whatever. But I tell you, once his bastard son, spoiler alert, everyone's back in Zamunda, it just is shit after shit after shit. I highly recommend it. You don't watch it if you liked the original. I love the original. Coming to America really is, in my opinion, not only one of the best Eddie Murphy movies, but one of the best cultural comedies of the last 40 years, I would say, because that came out in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. But I tell you, I gotta go. I have to rewatch some of those 80s Eddie Murphy movies because I have yet to see the two 48-hour movies that he did with Nick Nolte. And if I'm being truthful here, I don't think I have seen Beverly Hills Cop either. So I'm missing out on some premiere Eddie Murphy there. Now, I've seen all of his stand-ups and most of his other movies, but the movies that made him, so to speak, I have not seen. Which is funny because I've seen some of the other ones, like Harlem Nights. That wasn't that good of a movie, but I've seen it. 48 Hours and Beverly Hills Cop are some, classics. Your boy has not seen them, but I think they're both streaming, so I don't have any excuses now. Speaking of streaming, I attempted to watch. Well, I had completed. I don't know why I said attempted. I started and finished a movie I was very excited to watch called Under the Volcano with Alec Guinness and John Huston directing. Now, I'm a big fan of John Huston. He's directed some of the classics of the classics of the classics. Yeah, just look him up. Treasure Sierra Madre, he was in Chinatown. He didn't direct it, but he was in Chinatown. Prezi's Honor. I mean, I could go on and on and on. But he was, his family is the golden age of Hollywood. I mean, John Huston's dad was an early star in the 20s and 30s in Hollywood. And then you got John Huston, was a giant director and actor for a couple decades. And then, of course, his kids, Angelica Huston, stunning. One of the hottest women today. I mean, she's still attractive for her age, but Angelica Huston, wow! Especially the Addams Family movies. That's when I fell in love with her. And, of course, Danny Huston is a damn good character actor, one of the better ones. And I think Danny and Angelica Huston's nephew is Jack Huston, who was on Boardwalk Empire. He was on the last season of Fargo. He was in that fucking abortion of Ben-Hur remake. And he's been in some other movies, but he's, he's very good in Boardwalk Empire. Excellent in Boardwalk Empire. A little bit of, I feel like he was wasted his talents in the latest Fargo, but he's a good one too. So that Huston family is prime Hollywood elite. But no, Under the Volcano, going back to the movie, I've been wanting to watch it ever since I was a child because I saw the VHS cover at like Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, and it just looked so cool to me. And I don't remember why, but I'm a big fan of Alec Guinness. And I gotta say, for as much as I dislike the movie, and I don't think I'll ever get those 2 hours back in a meaningful way, because the movie itself, spoiler alert, is literally just 2 days in the life of a complete alcoholic, like train wreck, ruining everything in a 50-foot radius, drunk, ruining relationships, ruining physical things, ruining himself. He plays a former British diplomat in pre-World War II Mexico. And I know, it's such a weird plot. And it literally just follows him and his self-destruction. Basically, he's playing Nicolas Cage in Leaving Las Vegas. Except I don't think Under the Volcano he was trying to drink himself to death. But I will say this. Alec Guinness got an Oscar nomination for that role. As he should. It's probably, and I'd have to really think about this to dispute it, but it's probably one of the best acting performances I have seen with someone playing a drunk. Because pretending to be drunk, I don't think is that difficult, but to do it to the extent that he did it, I hold it up with Nicolas Cage in Leaving Las Vegas. It's more of a comedy turn, but still, Billy Bob Thornton and Bad Santa, he had it nailed down. But anyway, super excited to watch that movie ever since I was a kid because the VHS cover was cool. The synopsis I thought was cool. I read the synopsis of the book it's based on. That sounded cool, but I tell you, what a boring, fucking depressing movie. Ugh. Ugh. But speaking of movies, I really haven't seen anything really, really good that's been nominated for an Oscar this year. And I think I've talked about it before, of how the Oscars were kind of a big deal with my friends and family growing up, but now it's just so garbage and just brutal with the political correctness and the forced diversity and just it's just this elitism of telling people, here's the movies you should watch, and if you don't understand or don't like it, that's on you. It's ridiculous. I mean, if you look at the Best Picture nominees in any other year that wasn't a COVID movie year, I don't think those movies would have been nominated. And I swear to Christ, if the Trial of the Chicago 7 wins Best Picture, I'm going to pick up my TV, throw it out the window, and I'm going to mail Anthrax to the Academy. Oh, this is definitely getting flagged now. I'm joking. I don't even know where to get Anthrax. If anything, I would scare them and maybe put like Himalayan sea salt just to freak them out. But I kid, Big Brother. I know you're listening to this. I'm just joking. Learn how to take a joke. It's all about the context, baby. I don't really want to send Anthrax to the Academy. But what I do want is get them all in a room and I can baby shake each and every one of them and push them down a flight of stairs and say, enough with the forced, just political correctness, diversity nonsense, you know? I just want to see a movie that stars people of color that's not about suffrage, that's not about the fight for equality, that's not showcasing every single white character as a villain. Those movies have been done to death. And I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that, you know? I think I've already ranted about this in an earlier podcast. Maybe I'll stop before I get too heated. But anyway, I finished the latest season of Primal. Dope. I'm on the last 2 episodes of Search Party, which I don't know if y'all remember, but I was kind of not looking forward to the last season because I didn't like the direction it was going in. But now that I've seen about 8 episodes, I have got to say, I'm still not a fan of the direction they went. But I got to give them credit. They didn't just dip their toe in. They went all in on the idea of season 4. And that I got to give them props to. Because they could have teased something wild and radical, which they did, and then back out of it by episode 2 and go back to normal. No. Not only did they dive in the deep end, but they stayed there for a while. And now that there's 2 episodes left, they still haven't resolved it. And I gotta say, for a plot that I wasn't crazy about and I didn't even like, it's now passable to me. It's passable. I'm such a judgmental cunt. I don't know why I have to, like, critique everything. I'm not some fucking critic, you know, but fuck it, maybe I am. Maybe that's my calling. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. I'm still feeling that Godzilla vs. Kong movie. And again, I understand. It's a piece of shit movie. But god damn it, it's the perfect movie for me. And for a lot of people I know. And I read some of the reviews every now and then just to lift my spirits. And it's good to see that it was such a popular movie. It could be because movie theaters, well, depending where you live, movie theaters are open, and this is probably the first major movie to be playing in the theaters in quite some time. But speaking of Godzilla, I know I teased this a little bit last podcast, but instead of going through all of the monsters, I will just say my favorite, like, companion of Godzilla isn't Mothra. I love Mothra, don't get me wrong. In fact, I would love to get a tattoo of Mothra. Or Rodan, and I'm a giant fan of Rodan. In fact, there's not a lot of monsters in the Godzillaverse that I don't like, but my favorite companion of his is Anguirus, that little ankylosaur, dinosaur-looking thing. And again, some of this may go over y'all's heads, and you're like, you know what, Angelo, I don't give a fuck about the Godzillaverse monsters. Well, you know, fast forward if you don't want to listen to this, but Anguirus is my boy. And I love the fact that the actor that had to play him in that rubber suit, unlike most of the other monsters that could stand bipedally, the Anguirus one had to be on all fours forever. And Anguirus, I tell you, was in a lot of the Godzilla movies. And he was my favorite buddy of Godzilla growing up. Because he was always a pal of Godzilla. They fought in the second one, Godzilla Raids Again, I think in 56. But in every other movie that he was in, they were buddies. My favorite villain, everybody likes to think of Ghidorah. And I say, nah. Or Mechagodzilla is the other big one. My favorite is Gigan, or Gigan, however you want to pronounce him. It's just a psychedelic cyborg, drug-infused design of the 1960s and 70s. I mean, nothing of that monster makes sense. It's got like 4 separate beaks. It shoots laser beams out of its head. It's got just one massive eye, like a cyclops. It has a buzzsaw on its chest, and it has, like, I guess the only way to really describe them is cones for hands, just sharp spike cones. I mean, and he can fly. Nothing makes sense on that animal. And he was in a couple of the earlier Godzilla movies, I think 2, and then they brought him back a couple of years ago. Well, I say a couple of years ago. Fuck if I know how long it was. Maybe 10 years ago. In the Godzilla Final Wars movie, which was like the last giant Godzilla movie in Japan for a long time. Because after that movie, there was a little lull, and then Toho, and I believe, is it Warner Brothers that owns the rights to the current Godzilla verse in America? I don't know. It's Legendary Pictures, I know that. For the sake of this rant, I'm going to call it Warner Brothers. That was the last big Japanese Godzilla movie before the Americans got their hand in him. Now, there has been to my knowledge, one more Godzilla movie in Japan that was a giant of a success. I mean, critical success, fan success. I think it even won some major awards. It's Shin Godzilla, and it was to my knowledge, what I've been told is that it's a parable about the Fukushima nuclear reactor. I don't want to call it an issue because it's way more issue than that. But you remember the Fukushima nuclear power reactor outage or explosion, whatever it was. And that Shin Godzilla movie was a parable of that, I believe. So I still got to see that. But for whatever reason, it's not streaming anywhere without spending, $20, $30 to see it. I don't know if I could spend that much money on a Godzilla movie. But as I say it out loud, I don't know what else I would spend it on. So... oh boy, I am just jumping from one topic to the other, I don't know if it's because I'm staring at the most beautiful weather we've had in a long time. Consistent weather, I should say. I mean, it's going to be in the 80s today. Could be in the 80s tomorrow. It was in at least the high 70s the last couple days. And I got to tell you, I don't know if I'm alone in this, but with the weather being so nice... and me not really having anyone to really do anything with out there, it kind of made me depressed. Because I have a lot of friends still who don't want to get together until everyone has their round of vaccines. I know that some places are still not at full capacity. I know that some people just don't feel comfortable doing things yet. And I can't really begrudge them that, But it does pain me a little bit when I have consistent nice days like this and the people in my life that I reach out to are hesitant about doing anything. And this time last year, I was in a very serious relationship. And so her and I were always doing stuff outside in this kind of weather. So I think that happening just a year ago... adds to the depression a little bit. I don't even want to say depression or sadness, but just kind of the melancholy of it all. Because it's still a little too early to do a lot of things I want to do outside in terms of yard work. I can do some stuff, but it's still too early to do some of the major things. And there's only so much housework I can really do. And I still don't feel comfortable enough to do anything major on my own because of the pandemic, sometimes I love just grabbing my marijuana vape pen and going on a nice couple hour drive by myself. stop at some place, grab a latte and a lunch, chit chat with some strangers, get a little danked up, and just have a great day. Listen to some music in the car. You know what? Maybe put a podcast or an audiobook on and just live life, baby. But for some reason, that doesn't feel good right now. It doesn't feel, I don't have the eagerness to do that. I don't know. I'm hoping that once everyone gets their vaccines, which if you are getting a vaccine in the state of Washington now, it's available or should be available for anybody over the age of 16. So hopefully soon, at least personally, I will be able to see some friends in some nice group settings, because I do miss that. I really do. This whole pandemic has really shown me how much of extrovert that I am. I like the times on myself, don't get me wrong. In fact, I would say probably 60% of the time, I like just having a nice, calm, quiet, chill evening. Either by myself or one or two people, if that. But just chill, just vibing. But the other 40% of the time, I want to go ball to the wall crazy with some buddies, you know? I want to go out on dates, I want to go to bars, I want to go to clubs, I want to go to shows, you know? I just want to live life, you know? Live life 365, you know what I'm saying? But I tell you, I've been talking nonstop for 20 minutes, and I could not even tell you what the fuck I've said. So let me take a quick pause here, take a look at this podcast schedule, and see if I can get it back on the tracks here. Oh, I can't believe I didn't mention this when I was talking about the COVID vaccine, but I actually got my first round of shots the other day at the Super Mall. It was the Moderna. And I gotta say, it was really fucking easy to set it up, get it, and get the fuck out. I couldn't believe how easy it was. I thought there was going to be such bureaucratic bullshit around this that I'd be lucky to get one in the next couple months. That's how much trust I have in the local and federal government in something like this. But for the last couple weeks, I've been periodically checking the availability of the vaccine, knowing really that I'm, basically at the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak. But I kept hearing about friends and family that were getting them before I thought they were supposed to, but turns out they had other circumstances that I didn't know about, like multi-generational housing, and they had children that were getting ready to go back to school. So that makes sense to me. But I believe the 16th, was it? The 16th or the 15th in the state of Washington, the eligibility was open to anyone over the age of 16. Sorry, you Gen Z fucks. You're going to have to wait a little bit more. So I thought I would go to the website to sign up, and then I'd have to wait forever to get one. But lo and behold, on the morning of the 16th or 15th, whatever day it was that the eligibility was open, I put my information in, and within seconds, they sent me to 3 different locations that I could choose from. And I thought, no way is it this easy. I picked the Super Mall, because who doesn't want to go to the mall, And signing up really was quick. And when I was done, it said, okay, you've been added to the wait list. And I thought, here we go. The wait list. How long is this motherfucker going to be? I thought for sure I wasn't going to be getting one for a couple weeks or months, How wrong I was. Not even an hour later, I got a text message update saying, hey, we've sent you an email, click here to whatever and set up your appointment. And I thought, damn, that was quick. Clicked on the link, took me to the website. Sure enough, it said, hey, pick a time and a date. I picked the next day, which was yesterday, Friday the 16th. And I still couldn't believe how easy it was. I thought, well, I'm going to get there and it's going to be a clusterfuck. No, I got there 20 minutes early, prepping for the clusterfuck. And I walked right up to it. It was in the old Sports Authority, rest in peace, Sports Authority. And they had about 60 teenagers working there, directing people where to go. And I literally walked in, followed their instructions, and I got seated at a table within a minute. Some firefighter hunk gave me the shot, and then some guy, I don't know if he was a nurse practitioner, I don't know what he was, but He gave me they gave me the card or whatnot, the vaccine card, which some people are losing their shit about because life is too easy these days. We have to bitch about nonsense. Everything's an attack on our freedoms. You fucking fanokes. And they said, all right, do you want to set up your second appointment? And I said to him, really? I could do that right now? Yeah. So I literally walked across the Sports Authority to the front desk and got my second one all signed up and ready to go. So all in all, I spent less than 10 minutes total. And it was not packed, which is kind of alarming to me. I hope it's going to be more busy as the time goes on. My hope is as many people get vaccinated as possible. And then I tried to do some shopping, but they just didn't have shit there. I did find some stuff at Gap. And then I left, and on my way home, I thought, oh, fuck, I should have went to H&M. I forget how much I love H&M. I don't see many men my age there. Oh, let me rephrase that. I do see men my age there. In fact, they're much older, and the woman they're with looks to be 20 or 30 years younger than them, and they look bored and scared at what they are giving them to buy. So, so a little upset at myself that I forgot to go there. But I gotta say, the whole experience, very painless. The side effects are what people said they would be. After a couple of hours, my left arm, where I got the shot, was just hurting like a motherfucker. And it was stiff, too. It's like I had a cement brick as an arm. I couldn't bend it. I felt like I was John McCain. And it was a little trouble sleeping last night because I couldn't lay on my entire left side without the whole fucking arm hurting. This morning, it's a lot less painful. Still sore, of course. It's like a very bad flu shot is how I would describe it. But I'm happy I got it. I'm happy that it was easy. And I'm ecstatic that I'm getting the second one in about 2 weeks. No harm, no foul, baby. So the future is bright, so to speak. But, I gotta commend President Joe Biden for this COVID vaccine rollout. I don't know how Trump would have done it. I'd like to give Trump the benefit of the doubt, but then I remember the 4 years of him being president, and then I think, don't give him the benefit of the doubt. He would have found a way to fuck it up. If not him, then his cronies would have done it. And speaking of Biden, I gotta give him another giant round of applause for at least saying we're going to pull out of Afghanistan on 9/11/21. I don't know why they have to make it an anniversary of the attack. I mean, I know why they're doing it, but do you really want to be reminded that we've been in this shithole for 20 goddamn years? Personally, I think we should have pulled out of Afghanistan 10, 12 years ago. And in fact, I pulled up the speech that Joe Biden gave when he announced this, and it is a little long, but I do think it's very important. And I'll be the first person to say that I gave Biden a really hard time because I thoroughly believe that he has early onset Alzheimer's or dementia. And I know some people get so pissed when you say that, but guys, I listen to him talk. I look at how he walks. I see that somehow he trips upstairs. And guys, he's old. He is. And I understand those senior moments are going to happen, but I bet Kamala Harris was wetting her lips when she saw Joe Biden fall up those stairs. She's like, oh yeah. But let me pull up the speech here. And again, it's going to be a little long, but shut the fuck up and listen. This is historical. Okay, here we go. Let me skip the pleasantries here. Blah, 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 blah. Here we go. This is from our President Joe Biden. And again, I commend the motherfucker. We went to Afghanistan in 2001 to root out Al-Qaeda to prevent future terrorist attacks against the United States planned from Afghanistan. Our objective was clear. The cause was just. Our NATO allies, holy fuck, I cannot talk. Our NATO allies and partners rallied beside us, and I supported that military action along with overwhelming majority of the members of Congress. More than 7 years later, in 2008, weeks before we swore the oath of office, President Obama and I were about to swear, President Obama asked me to travel to Afghanistan and report back on the state of the war in Afghanistan. I flew to the Kunar Valley, a rugged mountainous region on the borders of Pakistan. What I saw on that trip reinforced my conviction that only the Afghans have the right and responsibility to lead their country, and that more and endless American military force could not create or sustain a durable Afghan government. I believed that our presence in Afghanistan should be focused on the reason we went to in the first place, to ensure Afghanistan would not be used as a base from which to attack our homeland again. We did that. We accomplished that objective. I said among, with others, we'd follow Osama bin Laden to the gates of hell if need be. All right, calm down, Joe. That's exactly what we did, and we got him. It took us close to 10 years to put President Obama's commitment into form. And that's exactly what happened. Osama bin Laden was gone. That was 10 years ago. Think about that. We delivered justice to bin Laden a decade ago, and we've stayed in Afghanistan for a decade since. Since then, our reasons for remaining in Afghanistan are becoming increasingly unclear, even as the terrorist threat that we went to fight evolved. Over the past 20 years, the threat has become more dispersed, metastasizing around the globe. Ooh, good word use, Joe. Then he lists a bunch of things in different countries: Syria, Iraq, Africa, Asia, blah, 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 blah. With the terror threat now in many places, keeping thousands of troops grounded and concentrated in just one country at a cost of billions each year makes little sense to me and to our leaders. We cannot continue the cycle of extending or expanding our military presence in Afghanistan, hoping to create ideal conditions for the withdrawal and expecting a different result. I'm now the fourth United States president to preside over American troop presence in Afghanistan. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. I will not pass this responsibility on to a fifth. Oh, amazing, Joe. After consulting closely with our allies and partners, with our military leaders and intelligence personnel, with our diplomats and development experts, blah, 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 I have concluded that it's time to end America's longest war. It's time for American troops to come home. Then he talks a little bit about himself there and what he's inherited, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yes, he's talking about the Taliban and the United States working together. It is perhaps not what I would have negotiated myself, but it was an agreement made by the United States government, and that means something. So in keeping with that agreement and with our national interests, the United States will begin our final withdrawal, begin it on May 1st of this year. We will not conduct a hasty rush to the exit. So that's what gives me pause. We'll do it responsibly, deliberately, and safely. Again, I don't know what the military-industrial complex is going to do to make Biden stay in a little bit longer based on those 3 words: responsibility, deliberately, and safely. And we will do it in full coordination with our allies and partners. And the Taliban should know that if they attack us as we draw down, we will defend ourselves and our partners with all the tools at our disposal. So, again, there's many caveats here. Let me skip ahead a little bit he talks more about the allies and how it's going to be more of a NATO situation there, blah, 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 blah. Talks about the new, here it is. At my direction, my team is refining our national strategy to monitor and disrupt significant terrorist threats, not only in Afghanistan, but anywhere they may arise. I spoke yesterday with President Bush to inform him of my decision. While he and I have had many disagreements over policies throughout the years, we're absolutely united in our respect and support for the valor, courage, and integrity of the women and men in the United States Armed Forces. Okay, just kissing ass here. Let me skip ahead. He's talking about his own time. Ugh. But where is the, what I'm looking for here? Here it is. Look, I know there are many who will loudly insist that diplomacy cannot succeed without a robust U.S. military presence to stand as leverage. Yeah, fucking Lindsey Graham, that cocksucker. We gave that argument a decade. Hear, hear, Joe. It's never proved effective. Not when we've had 98,000 troops in Afghanistan, and not when we were down to a few thousand. Our diplomacy does not hinge on having boots in harm's way. U.S. boots on the ground. We have to change that thinking. American troops shouldn't be used as a bargaining chip between warring parties and other countries. Oh, You getting me hard here, Joe. You know that's nothing more than a recipe for keeping American troops in Afghanistan indefinitely. That's the big one. That's a shot across the bow, in my opinion. I also know there are many who will argue that we should stay fighting in Afghanistan because a withdrawal would damage America's credibility and weaken America's influence in the world. I believe the exact opposite is true. Damn straight. If anybody in Congress says that, they should immediately be tarred and feathered and kicked in the ass on the steps of the Capitol. We went to Afghanistan because of a horrific attack that happened 20 years ago. That cannot explain why we should remain there in 2021. Goddamn right, Joe. And then he talks a little bit more about what we have to do, and he talks about Taliban, and some reason China, and then more NATO stuff, blah, 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 blah. Here we go. Not now. That's how we got here. And at this moment, there's a significant downside risk to staying beyond May 1st without a clear timetable for departure. If we instead pursue the approach where U.S. exit is tied to conditions on the ground, we have to have a clear answer to the following question. Just what conditions be required to allow us to depart? By what means? And how long would it take to achieve them if they could be achieved at all? And at what additional cost and lives and treasure? Oh, Joe, my dick can only get so hard. I'm not hearing any good answers to these questions. And if you can't answer them, in my view, we should not stay. You hear that, Lindsey Graham? You piece of garbage. Ugh. I love this. Made again, Joe Biden, between the vaccine and the Afghan pullout, great. Just great. Okay, then he starts talking about certain sections of the military code. Like, I give a fuck. Here it is. Then he talks about being the first president. Actually, this is kind of cool. This is. I'll close it on this. I'm the first president in 40 years who knows what it means to have a child serving in a war zone. And throughout this process, my North Star has been remembering what it was like when my late son, Bo, was deployed to Iraq. How proud he was to serve his country, how insistent he was to deploy with his unit, and the impact it had on him and all of us at home. We already have service members doing their duty in Afghanistan today whose parents served in the same war. Isn't that just fucking disgusting? We have service members who were not yet born when our nation was attacked on 9/11. Again, disgusting, shameful. War in Afghanistan was never meant to be a multi-generational undertaking. We were attacked. We went to war with clear goals. We achieved those objectives. Bin Laden is dead, and Al-Qaeda is degraded in Iraq, in Afghanistan. And it's time to end the forever war. Thank you all for listening. May God protect your troops. May God bless those families who lost someone in this endeavor. So, I don't know what there's not to like about this. It's amazing to me that he said that in 20 years, 4 different presidents, him being the 4th, have to deal with this. I remember Obama and Trump both running for president, guaranteeing and promising that they'd pull us out. And it never happened. And I know behind the scenes that the military industrial complex and the fucking Pentagon does not want this to happen. The point being, thank you so much, Joe Biden, for doing this. I will absolutely vote for you again in 2024 if you're still alive and if you haven't been assassinated by someone in the military. Because I feel like there's a lot of backroom dark dealings happening behind this. Not a lot of people in power are happy about this. I guarantee it. But the people are behind you, Joe. I bet if you polled, it would probably be an 80% approval rating of getting us the fuck out of Afghanistan. But anyway, that is amazing. I have explicit memories of the morning of 9/11 and the days that followed. I was a sophomore in high school. I went to school the day of 9/11. The majority of kids were not in school. My first couple classes, we just watched the news, and we just watched replay after replay after replay of the towers falling. I remember talking to friends at school. Some of them were in tears thinking that there was going to be a draft at any day and that we're going to be the next Vietnam. But as we all know, that never happened. I'm sure most of you remember where you were when you first witnessed the events on 9/11. I personally did not see the first tower get hit or fall because I was sleeping. And when my alarm went off, I went upstairs to take a shower, and my mother and sister were watching the news horrified, and they were talking to me about what happened, but I was still hazy, not listening, saying, fuck, I don't give a fuck. Took a shower, kind of woke up, got out, made a coffee, and then I heard the news, and as I was catching up, live, the second plane hit the second tower. So I saw that shit live. And not to be dramatic, not to make this all about me, but I remember watching that thinking, shit's different now. The news, the media, war, life, everything. Just being an American, being on this planet is forever changed, and it really has been. I don't think that's a out-of-bounds statement to make, but yeah, I gotta say, I give Joe a lot of credit. I'm not a huge fan of his foreign policies, but everything that he's doing domestically, but I think that the Afghan withdrawal is technically foreign policy, so I just stuck my fucking foot in my mouth, but fuck it, you know what I'm saying here. But I think we can move on. I don't know how much time we got left here, folks, but let's keep it chugging along here. So according to the schedule I wrote down here, if you ever want to know how my brain works before each podcast, I wrote down Mariners with a question mark and first boners. So let's talk about first boners, because I wasn't trying to make a comparison between the Mariners and my first boner. I'm sure if I really tried hard at figuring that out, but the whole topic of first boners came up with my Dungeons and Dragons group. We were on Zoom because we're responsible. And for whatever reason, we were talking about differences between boys and girls going through puberty. And I was going on a long rant about how boys have it so much worse in the physical department. But then the two girls were like, girls that develop boobs earlier are always called sluts. And I said, fair enough. I forgot about that. It's a tie. Because I remember getting erections at a very young age in school. And one of my buddies on the Dungeons and Dragons Zoom call also had the same experience, developing somewhat earlier than most of the other boys in class. And I remember not really caring about how I dressed and how I acted at that age. So I feel like I should rewind a little bit more on that, because as most of you will probably remember, or if not, I'll just say it. I went to a very conservative Christian private school. So we really didn't have a lot of options for clothing, because if anything was too whatever, they would send us home and say he and she can't wear that. Basically, we're dressing like 17th century Puritans. God forbid he show some shoulder or an ankle. It's off to the gates of hell for you. But one of my favorite pieces of clothing to wear were tight sweatpants. And I don't know what was going through my mom's head at the time, letting her very chubby son walk out of the house with very tight pants on that had his big ass and thighs just engorged. And my little, 11-year-old penis was like a little blip there. But I remember once I hit 12, I started to develop, and I can't look at pictures of myself at that age because I had such a obvious moose knuckle going on in my pants at that time. You literally could see the circumferences of my testicles, and my little cockhead was just sitting there. It was so embarrassing. I remember I felt so bad at school because, again, that Christian conservative school taught us at a young age any kind of sexual thoughts or sexual touching or inappropriate touching, as they called it, is a sin. And if you do it enough, you're guaranteed a one-way ticket to hell, first class. And I was horrified of that. So whenever I would get erections in class, wasn't even turned on. I would just get them randomly. I would almost cry. I would break out in sweats. I was just a nervous fucking train wreck, you know? And I remember I would constantly walk with my backpack or my binder or books in front of my dick because I thought for sure if anyone spotted that little 3-inch hard on I got, it was off to the principal's office for a talking to, and I was going to get kicked out and had to be going to a lesser school in hell. So I was sharing this with my D&D friends, and another of my friends on there said he kind of experienced the same thing, and it just got me thinking. I can't wait to have kids so that I can tell them that some of the major things that I was so stressed about and anxious about, that teenage angst, whatever, I would just be able to tell them, like, look, it's hard out there. Most kids your age are fucking assholes, but I'm going to tell you like it is. If I have a son, I'll be like, you're going to get erections. It's fine. Just acknowledge that this is normal, is what I would tell parents. Tell your child it's normal that you have these feelings. It's absolutely natural. I mean, watch any nature documentary about apes or monkeys. They're always just whacking it, So we're just, intelligent apes. That's all we are. So when you look at your cousins, the chimpanzees and the bonobo chimps, they're always just shitting or jacking off or fucking or eating or sleeping. I mean, it's the best world, baby. It's the best life. It's the best life. I don't know if I had anything more to say on the subject of my first boners, but maybe at the time I had a grander explanation for it. But yeah, my first couple years of getting erections, I was mortified until I got into high school. I realized, oh, no one gives a fuck. In fact, it's if anything, it's more comical than anything. That is to say, it's not okay for you to get an erection in public and start making a big thing about it. Hey, everybody, look at my wee-wee. Come on, grow up. You don't want to get arrested or tased. You don't want to get shot thinking the cop had a taser gun. You fucking assholes. I didn't even really want to talk about that because it's so macabre to see the country reopening, and now we have mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting, on top of more police shootings of unarmed young people of color. Oh, America's back, baby. I'm just waiting for a school shooting next. Then America's back to where we were pre-COVID. And that's how sad this country is in some respect, I have a way of fixing everything because I'm a smart man and I have common sense. I know how to fix mass shootings, school shootings, police shootings. I can fix everything. But I think that's a whole other podcast because we're running out of time on here. So that is my first boners. Somehow we started talking about shootings and the police. Lastly, with the Mariners, as I sit here, we're 9-4 or 9-5, something like that. We're in first place. Now again, 9-5, 9-4, big fucking whoop. It's a long season. We tend to have a propensity early on in the season to not do anything for the first 6 or 7 innings and somehow get all of our hits and runs in the last 2 innings and we win. I think actually 5 out of our 9 wins have been come from behind wins. So, but I'm excited. This is a fun Mariner season. I know that not a lot of people are thinking that we're going to contend. I put myself in that category. This is a rebuilding season, but I think this is the last rebuilding season with this current coach and GM because we've seen a lot of last rebuilding seasons as a Mariner fan the last 20, 30 years. So, but I'm very happy to see Mitch Haniger coming back and just showing that he did not miss the last year and a half, year and 3/4 of baseball. I mean, Mitch Haniger, I don't think any baseball player had a rougher stretch of time than Mitch Haniger the last year and a half. So, I mean, he looks like he's even playing better than he was way back when. I'm loving this new kid, Ty France. I like J.P. Crawford. I like old man Kyle Seager starting to hit right away. Kyle Seager lately, he tends to start season in a slump, and then usually after the All-Star break, he starts to figure it out. But this season, he's starting off right away hot. But that's really about it. Some of the other offensive players haven't really found their stride yet. Again, it's only 14 games or so in. So I think we only have 4 out of the 9 offensive players have averages above 200. So that's not sustainable. Our pitching has been better, but again, I don't want to get ahead of myself and think this is it. The Mariners are going to go crazy this year. No. I still think we are a 500 or below team. I think we're going to be in contention though, but I don't think we're going to make the playoffs. Let me rephrase. If we finish the season with a winning record, I will be shocked. Absolutely shocked. I don't want to have, a 30 games under 500 season. I expect us to be, one way or the other, 5 games under, 5 games over, somewhere around there. What's the halfway point? Is it 85 and 85? Is that the 500 mark right there? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I just hope that we aren't giant losers, but I don't expect us to be giant winners. I expect us to be middle of the road. But 2022, next year, that's when I expect us to be contenders for the AL West and to make the playoffs for the first time since 2001. God damn, my arm is still fucking sore. God damn you, fucking Moderna shot giving me that Chinese 5G. I did get the shot and I came home and all of my electronic devices immediately worked better. So whatever 5G they put in my arm is working right away. So big props to China for doing that. Thank you. And of course Bill Gates for putting in the GPS tracking. I love it, people. I love it. You fucking idiots. Oh, QAnon. You dumb fucking idiots. Where are you on this GATS thing? This congressman banging high school girls and paying for all that shit. I don't know. I could, again, the whole thing about Matt Gaetz and police shootings and mass shootings, that's a whole other podcast right there. Oh, doesn't that sound exciting, all those topics? Doesn't that just sound incredibly entertaining? But on that happy note, I think we can wrap it up here. Try to enjoy the weather. Get out there with some Trump bronzer and really get yourself orange. I'm thinking about it because supposedly I'm 60% Italian. But if you look at me and you're like, no, you're 60% vampire and newborn fish because I can see through you, motherfucker. I wore shorts the other day and I looked down and my legs were so goddamn bright I had to wear sunglasses just to look at my legs. So that's where I am in my life. But anyway, I love y'all. Take it easy. Don't do the thing I wouldn't do. Blah, 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 blah. I'll see you guys next podcast.